Hello everyone, this is Simply Syrup and I'm so excited to be bringing you a video today on Steam's newest full release, Dungeons of Edera. Dungeons of Edera is a roguelike dungeon crawler filled to the brim with tons of combat. Today we are going to be going over 7 helpful beginner-friendly tips to get you started on your campaign. Before we get into the video, I just wanted to take a moment to thank anyone who may be watching and to remind you to like and subscribe if you do enjoy the video or if you find any useful information. Thank you so much for tuning in again. I hope you enjoy the video, but before I take up any more of your time, let's get into it. Tip number 1. Look everywhere. There is loot hidden all over the map in Dungeons of Edera. You can find chests and barrels tucked away almost anywhere, in houses, hard to reach platforms, and even on the side of mountains. When dungeon crawling, really take your time and look around for hidden passageways or alternate routes. Never be afraid to backtrack a dungeon for extra rewards. You would be surprised how many goodies you can find when you're not constantly fighting for your life. Sometimes, after a battle-heavy mission, it would make a lot of sense to turn around and quickly run through the dungeon while looking from a new perspective. Do yourself a favor and walk through dungeons, don't run. You never know what equipment or loot you may be missing out on. Also, keep in mind that rewards for completing a mission pale in comparison to what you find in the actual dungeon. Mission completion rewards are small, so take on dungeons with the mindset of the rewards coming from what you can find, not just completing the mission. Tip number 2. Attack first. In Dungeons of Edera, you'd rather be on the attack than on the defensive. Sometimes it's true that the best defense is a good offense. Attacking first will allow you to stagger enemies, keeping them from using their abilities on you. You want to try to string together attacks so that your enemy doesn't have a chance to fight back. Don't get too carried away though. If you don't keep an eye on your stamina, then you won't have the ability to evade once your attack string is broken. Not being afraid to do battle is probably the biggest tip I can give you for Edera. The more willing you are to charge into enemies, the better you will do overall. I'm not suggesting that you dive bomb a group of goblins, but you need to have an attack first mindset, so do your best to have no fear when spelunking caves and dungeons in Edera. Tip number 3. Hire a companion. There is no need to ever go dungeon diving alone with the companion feature. For a measly sum of 250 gold, you can hire your very own meat shield to tank the front lines for you. These brand new recruits may not have the fanciest sword skills, but boy do they have gumption. Charging headfirst into battle, these young men will save your life as well as give their own for the cause. Truthfully, hiring a companion is a necessary expense for any campaign. These young men are incredibly helpful at splitting enemies up and shielding for you. All of the companions come with a decent amount of health and can even do a fair bit of damage. I can assure you that you will get your money's worth out of any companion if you utilize them properly. Remember that companions will stay with you for as long as you and them can survive for, so don't be afraid to shell out some gold for a good frontline friend. Some companions will even have their own skills to utilize and turn the tide of battle. Companions are a huge asset and you should never enter into a dungeon without one. Tip number 4. Be prepared to die. Don't let dying stop you from having a good time in Dungeons of Edera. No matter how good of a player you are, death is inevitable in this game. Prepare yourself to get beat down mentally before dying in the game discourages you from playing. The simple truth is Dungeons of Edera is extremely difficult, and death comes for us all. Because of the difficulty of the game, you're going to want to take full advantage of your stash's inventory. Your stash allows you to save items, and you can use these stored items across any character. Gold is automatically stored away in your stash, but you will have to save everything else manually. I believe that it is good practice to check your stash and store away items after every mission. You never know when your number may be called, so do yourself a favor and stash away items often. Tip number 5. Use the map to your advantage. There are two huge ways you can use the map to your advantage in Dungeons of Edera. The first is simply using height to confuse enemies. For whatever reason, monsters have an extremely difficult time understanding how to get over even the smallest of ledges. You can use this to your advantage by taking large groups of enemies to edges and using ranged attacks to take them out. It's a little bit cheesy, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do. Another great tip to look out for when using the map to your advantage is to be aware of the various traps placed around each dungeon. These traps will also do damage to enemies and are normally pretty strong. With a little bit of critical thinking, you can use these traps to take down massive hordes of goblins. So do your best to make the environment in Dungeons of Edera work for you. Tip number 6. Spend time on the skill tree. Before using a precious skill point, which are only granted on level ups and aren't easy to come across, take a look around the whole skill tree. Familiarize yourself with all the different branches and try to get a clear idea of the build you want to create. There are no restrictions on which skills each class can take, so your build is entirely up to you. I can't give you the perfect build for each class, but I can offer some advice to get you started. Firstly, I wouldn't waste my skill points on the armor and weapon crafting skill trees early in the game. You simply won't have enough items stored away to successfully craft things for some time. Also, to make a successful build, try not to spread your points across separate branches. Whether you are making a magic or health build is up to you, but I wouldn't recommend trying to master everything. It's important to note here that you can always reset your skills if you're unhappy with your current build, so don't be afraid to try out new creations and find what works best for you. Tip number 7. Equip gear early and often. You're going to find all sorts of gear while crawling through Dungeons of Edera. It may take some time, but you're going to want to familiarize yourself with all the different items you may come across. The only way to do this is to stop and check your inventory periodically or when you find new gear. I know everybody wants to rush into combat, but you really need to take your time and get your inventory situated if you want to master Dungeons of Edera. Not only does gear have basic stats like damage and attack speed, gear also comes with its own special power-ups. If you're ever confused about what to use, take a look at the INT level. This score will let you know how powerful each piece of equipment is, and never forget to take into consideration your build when choosing which gear to put on. Equipping new gear is the easiest way to get good fast. It may seem daunting at first, but you will quickly come to realize what all gear is used for. So take your time in the first couple of missions and really look into what gear you are picking up. And there you have it, 7 beginner-friendly tips to get you started in Dungeons of Edera. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed the video and that you found some useful information. Please remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. We should be coming out with more Dungeons of Edera content very soon. I've been having a lot of fun with my Dungeons of Edera playthrough and wanted to wish all of my fellow gamers in Dungeons of Edera the best of luck. Feel free to check the link in the description to our Twitch channel where we are playing the newest and best games daily. So one last time, thanks everybody for watching so much. I really hope to see you on the channel again soon. Good luck and have a fantastic day.